History buffs offering a hand over to weebs. Oh no, it's weebs who try to defend Imperial Japan. Thank you to all the weebs that don't do this out here, because there's a lot of weebs that do. I mean, honestly, we got kids on TikTok agreeing with the Austrian painter, so at this point, literally nothing should even surprise us anymore. But yeah, when Japan had an empire, it wasn't good. Just ask the Philippines, or Korea, or China, or Indonesia, or so many others. If there's any country that is a textbook example of a successful rebranding, it's Japan. Sure, I like anime, but I haven't forgotten. And if you're still not convinced, why not ask the Japanese how we know there's 60% of water in the human body? They were the ones to figure it out first. They did some very interesting experiments back in those days. Horrific, but yeah. I'm afraid the no-no Germans will invade you, so I'll have to invade you first, says Great Britain. Come again? Yeah, Iceland's gonna be kind of confused. This is pretty much how it played out. The British invaded their neighbors to the north just because they thought the Germans would do it first. But the truth was, they weren't exactly angry about the whole thing. They literally landed on the island and met no resistance. This was literally 1 month after the Germans successfully invaded Denmark, and Denmark had control over that island, Iceland. Well, they were in a personal union. So the Brits thought the no-no German invasion of Icelandic territory was inevitable, so they had to do it first. Which, fun fact, they almost did this very same thing to Ireland. There was a lot of talk that the Germans were going to invade Ireland to have a better foothold for invading the British, because the Irish were previously neutral. But luckily for them, the Germans started Operation Barbarossa, and then from then on out, their focus was mainly on the East and the Soviet Union. There's also the talk of Norway. The British were just a little bit too late because the Germans got to them first. France, I can explain. You're equipping your troops with gas masks? Well, we can only afford helmets, says the French. Helmets, responds Russia. We're only getting rifles, says half the Russian army. Meanwhile, the other half of the Russian army, you guys are getting rifles? Classic Russia tactics there. Now you don't need any equipment of war. Your body will be enough. What a strange conflict World War I was. So much more weird than World War II in like pretty much every aspect. Meanwhile, the Canadians were using pea-soaked rags as impromptu gas masks. I mean, the empires at the time were still learning how industrial warfare would look like. So that means you have soldiers using still body armor, aerial darts, an anti-gas mask helmet, quote unquote, a German trench club. Not to mention we were still figuring out how to build the most efficient tanks. Oh yeah, and then there's also Zeppelins for whatever reason. They really liked those. I hope this man found someone who could match his energy. John, 31. Oh girl, are you Belgian? Because I want to invade your neutrality. I have to hope. I have to believe he found somebody. Please, please tell me he did. Are you Belgian? Because I want to immediately leave you for France. He was a World War I boy. She was a Renaissance girl. I didn't get what the Allies promised me. I got blamed for the war, a huge debt, and Poland cut me in two. I lost 2/3 of my country. Meanwhile, there's just Romania sitting here. Yeah, I think I know where they're smiling. In a way, Romania didn't get punished at all. Just kind of hilarious. Well, I mean, not only did they not get punished, but they came out of World War I looking twice as big. They got so much land out of this. And this is why Hungary, still to this day, is very bitter. It's funny because it's not like they jumped into the war immediately either. I thought that, you know, well, it makes sense the Italians didn't get much because they joined late. So did Romania. Kind of one of those things, they were just right place, right time. This is even funnier because this is all the Axis powers in World War II. So they're looking back at their time during World War I. Romania is the only one that had a pretty good experience with the whole thing. Don't forget Bulgaria. The Bulgarians lost land during World War I, but then gained land after World War II, and they were part of the Axis. Are you stupid? Chicago is actually the capital of Illinois, not Springfield. You must be German spy. This is why geography is so crucial. You might find yourself in quite possibly the most embarrassing scenario. At an Allied checkpoint during the Battle of the Bulge, this U.S. general was detained as a possible spy. He correctly named Springfield as the capital, but the soldier questioning him thought it was Chicago. I mean, if it was the right day, or I guess the wrong day, I should say, I probably would have made this very same mistake. This reminds me of that scene from Red Dawn, resistance fighter. Hey, you American? Shot down pilot. Yep, red-blooded. What's the capital of Texas? Austin. No, it's Houston, commie. Wait until that guy finds out about New York City and the state of New York. So I guess Americans have just always been bad at geography, even during World War II. Slavers, the transatlantic slave trade has lasted for 300 years. There's nothing that can stop it. Meanwhile, enter the British Empire. Yeah, they literally said, we're not doing that anymore. We're just gonna put a little stop to all that. It's funny because obviously the British Empire has made some very big mistakes horrific even, but we gotta give credit when credit's due. Keep in mind, there was a little bit of economic interest going on to stop that whole thing as well. I mean, it wasn't completely out of the goodness of their heart. English royalty be like, what should we name the future king? I don't know, Henry, Richard, James, William, George, whatever. I almost just said Squidward. French royalty, what should we name the future king? Louis. That's it. That's the only option. How many did they have again? Like, at least 16. Oh, Google's AI is telling me more than 20. I mean, the name's been popular since the 9th century in France. It's kind of a funny tradition. I mean, they just kept this up for like 1,000 years. Why? I have no idea. Why not, I guess. And would you look at that? Just another tradition Napoleon had to completely break. That man just came, rattled everything up, and then just died on an island somewhere. Said, peace, you're welcome. Meanwhile, in Prussia, you got Frederick, Wilhelm, or both. Take it or leave it. The German Empire likes Wilhelm. Hey, look, it's the forefather of Czech. That'll be a great place to put my country. What could possibly go wrong? Oh, Hungary comes out of nowhere. The Ottomans coming out of nowhere. The Austrians coming out of nowhere. The no-no Germans coming out of nowhere. The Soviet Union coming out of nowhere. Yeah, in hindsight, forefather Czech should have probably put his country, well, maybe anywhere else. Maybe not anywhere else, but I don't know, a little bit further to the west a little bit. Actually, yeah, a lot of these events could have been avoided if Czechia was just a little bit further west in the European continent. Oof. And then to think they'd be forced into some random Frankenstein nation with the Slovaks, how insane is that? They've been through a lot. The rest of Europe fighting pathetic genes when a rat, superior Western Slavic genes suitable for poop life and weak plague. This is because these parts of Europe weren't as devastated against the Black Plague. In fact, Poland did very good, as well as Czechia. They're out here just showing how great of hygiene they got. Weak plague above Czech flag becomes for me weak Prague. I almost said this too. It's my nephew's 11th birthday. Should I abandon him at a train station tomorrow or nah? Is it really going this far now? Are we really making hoi 4 cakes at this point? I feel like humanity is now doomed. Honestly though, this is a legendary cake. I kind of want this for my birthday. Not my 11th birthday, but I'm a 30-year-old man, so it's a little bit different. Imagine carving up the cake and being like, give me that piece of Poland. Get to roleplay as the Germans and the Soviets. Look, it's the Roman Empire and the Holy Roman Empire watching TV together. I love you, Dad, says the HRE. Gay. The only way the Roman Empire daddy knows how to respond. It's a weird way to phrase that, Roman Empire daddy, but yeah, they're definitely not getting any love from their father. I mean, we don't even know if the Roman Empire is the HRE's biological father. That's still been up for debate for quite some time. I mean, technically speaking, this whole thing was lying in kind of barbarian lands. Both emerged from a fallen monarchy. Full names were abbreviated to 4 letters. Really liked red and yellow. Welcome back, Roman Republic. Oh, is China the new Roman Republic? Also, bye again. Is this going to inevitably mean that China's going to split up into 2? China's already split up into many different pieces, and it's always horrific. Moms be like, we have Rome at home. Yeah, this was pretty disgusting. So many people claim to be the Roman Empire, but I haven't really seen the China version of this. Actually, there is a ton in China that says they're descendants of the Roman Empire. However, Chinese authorities did debunk this, but how do we know that's not just more Chinese government propaganda? I mean, I wouldn't believe them personally. They got statues there. Makes sense to me. If the Arab governments were united and brave, we could have reclaimed Palestine with this war pattern. For example, the advantage we have is that Israel's in the middle from all Arab countries. Arab Maritime Alliance with the Southern Mediterranean, Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt. There's also this alliance with Turks, Syria, Lebanon. Then there's the Earth Alliance, Jordan and Iraq, also attacking from the Egyptian side here. More alliances with more people, Yemen, Saudi Arabia. Yeah, how are we going to tell this poor soul? He's clearly pretty young, but he at least doesn't remember the 1960s. Because if he did, he would remember, oh, they already tried that. That strategy was literally already done. Planning your invasion on Snapchat must truly be the peak of non-credibility. Finally, cis Jordan. We lost trans Jordan so long ago. Egypt is closing the straits, and Arab armies are massing on sides. I don't like this. I'm gonna strike first. You said you're gonna do what? 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 Again, another reference to the 6-Day War back in 1967. It's actually one of those wars that's based on a certain time frame that is accurate. It did last 6 days. Unlike, for instance, like the 100 Years' War, which was like 116. But yeah, by the end of the 6 days, this is what Israel was looking like. Meanwhile, the world giving all the credit to America for World War II. Then there's their 2 biggest allies, the UK and the USSR. But down here where literally nobody remembers, India having its entire wealth drained out for the war, fighting on every front and sending the biggest volunteer army in the history of mankind, losing literally millions of lives and not getting a permanent seat on the UNSC Security Council. There you go. When it comes to talking World War II, yeah, no one really brings up India too much. much. I mean, I've talked about India fighting the Japanese because of how large that Japanese empire got. There was fighting that was going on inside of India, which is just insane to think that they were able to get all the way over there. The UNCS from Halo. For perspective, more Kazakh soldiers did oof in World War II, and that's because Kazakhstan was a part of the USSR, and everyone knows their casualty numbers. Well, maybe not their full casualty numbers, but everyone knows they lost by far the most, and it was insane. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to WW2, I think everyone doesn't get enough credit. One country I always forget about is Indonesia. They technically lost the 3rd most. The nation of Indonesia lost more than Japan themselves. Oh, sorry, they lost the 4th most. Still, if you lost troops, I mean, it contributed. Meanwhile, on a very different side of Reddit, we have pro-USSR people celebrating, well, what was happening to Polish officers in 1940. Ugh, how would you do that? Meanwhile, this video response with Cope and Seed. Yeah, he'll never stop the Red Plague from conquering all of Europe. And yeah, don't forget that Poland did. And everyone does. Poland had one of the only dubs over the USSR in their history. And this was to gain their independence. This war started 2 decades before World War II. And this is the reason why Poland was able to get so big and fight for their freedom. Obviously, during World War II, they got invaded from both sides, but, you know, they came out of it. Average world builder fantasy flag. Basic design looks too modern. The green means nature. The yellow means justice. The basic eagle design actually has a lot of complex lore. I'm very into vexology. Symbols taken from a free logo website. Meanwhile, the average real-life medieval flag. I am ordained by God. Simplicity thrown out of the window. Violent symbols galore. Colors and symbols from an ancient dynasty 683 years ago or something. The decapitated heads towards people they were racist towards. Yeah, there's actually a lot of that. Those flags had no chill. Come on, world builder fantasy universes. Like, you gotta spice it up. They're so generic. As always, big thanks to my patrons. Month 2 in Drew's basement. Drew's Argentinian Grandpa. DOOCHBAGGINS. I can't sleep. Kansas was mentioned.
Amateur Archaeology.
aPhatNarwhal.
Carmel
Fredrik Tibblin.
InquisitorXarius.
KingBearHaze.
KirinoIsBestGirl.
LuxembourgLover.
Tyrol.
Tambre.
Mexican 760.
ZaneyBoi. Like your name here, check that link to Patreon down below.